I'm Ruth Hughes.
Hi.
Thank you to those of you who are staying for the final panel. And Thomas Michael Hogg here to my left, Managing Director of TMH. He's in the Investment Consulting Group. He also is the author of Profitable Growth Strategy and a columnist in El Financiero, very good Spanish skills, and lives in Houston, Texas. Thomas, what can you tell us about ally shoring, and what is that, you know, in the context of what we're discussing here today on manufacturing and even the Chinese influence? Like, what is ally shoring in this context?
Yeah, actually I don't like the word nearshoring as much. So ally shoring refers to make business with an ally, with a friend. And what we know is that in Texas especially, I guess every family has a connection to Mexico. So the families have been connected for years, and what we have to do right now is to connect business and to connect the economy. Recently, we invited a really important investor to Monterrey, and it was his first time being in Mexico and Monterrey, and we asked him, hey, is it your first time in Mexico and Monterrey? And he said yes. And we asked him, why don't you come, or why haven't you been to Mexico before? And his answer was, why should I come to Monterrey when I'm in Texas? And we want to invite you to a little change that mindset and get to know a little bit more about Mexico, about Monterrey. Monterrey, for example, it's a city with 5 million people. In 10 years, it will go up to 10 million people. A population will grow. And I'm coming from Germany, having spent 17 years in Mexico, now being for more than 2 years in Houston. I know the Mexicans and the Mexican culture, married to a beautiful Mexican wife. And the thing here is Mexico has a really qualified workforce. They're graduating each year more engineers in Mexico than in Germany or in France, for example. And also it's a really young workforce. So in average, when we talk about demographics, Mexico is in average 29 years old, comparing to Germany, 48 years old, comparing to China and the US, around 42 years old. So it's a really young, developed workforce. And what we want to do, obviously, we want to work with you on manufacturing, but we don't want to be the typical maquiladora. We want to build with Texas the future verticals, the future industries. When we talk about health tech, when we talk about manufacturing tech, when we talk about fintech, there's so much potential to linking ideas, innovation, and talent. And we should combine this and match this, and then really we can talk about an ally partnership.
Sure. And I can tell you from Austin's perspective in particular, we certainly see Monterrey, Mexico on the business side of things as sort of part of the Texas Triangle in many ways. So we're looking for more opportunities now as we come out of the pandemic to try to get higher education institutions working together globally. So I think that's going to be very important. I agree. And Thomas, you know, we talked about green and going south. I know Rogelio was coming back from Africa when I last saw him, so we've expanded the world, although we all agree with Ed that we could go south and just hit the Americas. But let's talk a little bit about USMCA, because it does create such an opportunity, and it really, I don't want to say forces, but let's say highly encourages, right? Creates opportunities for this triangle of Canada, Mexico, and the United States to really be a powerhouse in the world. And it got implemented, of course, during the pandemic, and I'm wondering how you've seen that create opportunities for employers.
When we talk about the size of the opportunity, when we talk about the size of the economy, and when we talk about the size of the commerce, which is done in the USMCA zone, it's around 16% of the global GDP and 16% of the global commerce are done in these three countries. So we have a lot of delegations coming in from all over the world to Texas, to Houston, to Monterrey. And I mean, they want to be neighbors from the States, and they want to be in this trade zone. It's a huge opportunity already when we talk about business, economy, and commerce. But what I learned now from Texas, and I really admire Texas, is small government approach and pro-business. So at the end of the day, on a federal level, I guess they understood it from a strategic point of view. But now when we have to operate it on a business level, we have to be a small government and pro-business. And now what Rogelio is telling, not only pro-business, also pro-education. So when we mix small government, pro-education, and pro-business, this will be, for me, I guess, the most competitive region in the world for the next 20 to 30 years.
That's great. You want to jump in on the federal government?
Yeah, I want to be polite, but I mean, at the end of the day, I'm as a business consultant, I'm asking myself, okay, what should be the main objective or the key performance indicator for the Mexican president, or at federal level? So Mexico right now, they will grow this year 3%, and that's kind of good. But an economy with this opportunity and being the neighbor of the United States should grow double digit, or at least 5 to 6% or 7%. But the most important thing here, or the most important indicator here, is GDP per capita. So Mexico hasn't grown its GDP per capita for the last, I guess, 20, 30 years. And that's the main issue, and that's, for me, would be the most important KPI nowadays on a federal level, is to really raise the GDP per capita, and that, I mean, the country is getting poorer, and that they can build up a middle class, as we have the middle classes in some of the Western European countries. So this would be the two most important KPIs: building up a middle class with higher GDP per capita.
Rogelio?
I might not be as polite as like a German here, but
You're my type.
they have to take the foot out of the pedal, the braking pedal. They just don't interfere. They should be just kind of, if they really could add value to us, is just set up a direction. And that direction should be, let's get into the digital or knowledge economy. That should be the way to move forward.